Welcome to another episode of The Road Report. Pull up a chair, grab your favorite drink, and let's see where this conversation takes us. I'm Caleb. I'm your host. Tonight we have Mr. Brad.
Nacho, man.
Yeah. And Jason, who's already probably saying, why did you just say pull up a chair and grab your favorite drink? I can feel the heat. And then tonight, we're sitting down with someone, and correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, who has become a significant voice inside Rhode Island's public conversation. She's a business executive, a former gubernatorial candidate, and a leader who has worked at the intersection of healthcare, crisis response, and public policy. Did you say that's right?
I would say that's right.
Perfect. She built and managed medical operations during the COVID era, ran a multi-million-dollar business with her husband, and stepped directly into the political arena in 2022 to challenge the status quo. Her debate with Governor Dan McKee sparked statewide discussion, and her positions on school choice and energy costs and government efficiency continue to shape civic dialogue in Rhode Island. Beyond the headlines, though, she's a mother and someone who built her life through discipline, education, and work. Tonight, we get the human behind the profile. Not the candidate, not the talking points, the person who dedicated or decided that Rhode Island was worth fighting for. Welcome to the table, Ashley Kalus.
Thank you. That was such a nice way. I'm not used to
You
that,
like that?
For the president thing. Yeah,
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well.
We
Appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, for sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
So far, the consensus is you are the most high-profile guest we've had.
Oh, that's really nice. Okay.
How does that feel? Not to put the pressure on at all.
It's really nice to be here, especially talking again about Rhode Island issues and sort of where we are in policy and politics. And we're about ready to enter. We're about ready to enter the election season again. I think it's officially started.
Has it?
Yeah, I would say so.
When did it
Yeah.
start?
A lot of people are already announcing.
I thought it never ended.
It kind of never ends, right?
Feels like it.
Right after the elections that just happened, I think we're now in midterm mode. Most candidates are starting to think of becoming candidates, and they're a little bit late, I've been told. But I don't think that that's the case. People make up their minds about now,
Yeah.
and then they start putting a campaign together.
I'll be honest. I don't know why anybody would want to get into politics right now. Like, it is volatile.
You sound like my husband. It's like, why did you do that? I think you have to, there's no other way to make change in the public setting. And if you love public policy, the only avenue to really do that is through politics. Like, you have to go through politics to get to policy.
Yeah.
At least the good people who are involved are really focused on winning so that they can make a difference and enact policy. Like, good policy, I would say it's like, it acts like almost, it's not magic, but it kind of feels like magic over a town where you have a town that was once empty and all of a sudden new businesses are coming in, and you don't see policy, but it's a force that acts over a community. And it's really rewarding for public servants. And I think if we move more back to that public servant model where you have people who want to do policy, they don't want to be like a celebrity of some sort, I think we're going to have better outcomes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's
There's too much self-interest, it seems, these days.
That's what it's become. It's become almost a celebrity status. Like, how many followers do you have on TikTok or on Instagram, right? It feels like
We need the good people.
Yeah,
Get
we
back
need people
into
who
it.
are interested
passionate
in
about
meaningful
making real change.
policy changes.
Right.
And they're not great for the political part of it. Like, for the talking points, it's horrible to say, like, let me talk about this complex
Policy.
education reform plan or whatever that is. It's just not something that's made for TV always,
Right.
but it's really important to have that. You have to be a great communicator, and I think that that's what you do see in good politicians is people who are able to sort of explain what their vision is.
Yeah, people don't really pay attention to policy until it's a bad policy, and then they want to
Right.
change. If it's a good policy, they'll never know that it even exists.
Right. It's like, again, it's like saying like magic. It's like, wow, everybody's opening a business here and this neighborhood looks really nice. And, the roads are plowed appropriately. People, they only notice when it's terrible.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. But it does give people the idea that they should make a change.
And it might not even be a terrible policy. It's just their side told them that it was terrible, so they automatically jumped on that bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean, you can also just have like what we have a lot in Rhode Island, unfortunately, without naming names. I usually do, but I'm not going to. Which is
Name
that you
names.
also have incompetence. Like there's
Yeah.
there's policy, which you see legislatively a lot, but then also what you see in executive branch positions, which means you're talking about a governor, but you're also talking about a mayor. Those are more executives, which is you have incompetence. And when you're looking for an executive, you're looking for somebody who has the ability to implement policy in an effective manner.
Yeah.
And we don't get a lot of that, unfortunately. But we can get more if we get better people involved. The problem is it's such a terrible process where it's, we treat it as a fight and it's personal and it can be embarrassing, that I can see why normal people don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
any
life is
skeleton
very
you
busy.
have. Any skeleton you have in your closet, it's going to come out.
Real or not.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that people craft narratives and I think that people try to prepare you for it.
Yeah.
But it's really easy when you think like, oh, I'll be fine. Or you always think it's the other guy, like, oh, you should hear what he did. And you think, but when it's you're like, wait, that's not really what happened.
Yeah.
Or that's not really true.
When we started this, we did a show about the schools.
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
And it was an infrastructure show. And the only thing I said about the schools was that when we district the schools, that, some parents are going to be upset that their children are going to go to schools that they didn't intend them to. They bought houses for a certain school.
Yeah,
and they're
that's a
gonna
big
go to
deal.
another school. And I'm on the school committee in Cumberland, and for two straight school committee meetings, I had like 30 and 40 people filter through, and they went up to public comment and they were admonishing me and everything. They a couple, maybe two or three people.
Yes.
Maybe two or three people probably watched the actual.
What were they mad about?
That's crazy.
Or,
Mad-
they did not about what you actually
No,
said, just
no.
the summary of what you didn't say.
Yeah,
or
none of them
whatever.
watch the show. It's very
Yeah,
obvious.
exactly.
They just got their talking points from somebody else to summarize it for them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
it.
this is what we're gonna hammer them on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They were mad that because somebody told them that he said something that
Because it was a school
wasn't even
ranking.
really.
She wants to put it on the table. He ranked. All he did was bring out the state. State ranks the schools.
And did you
Jason
notice?
Dean doesn't rank the schools.
No.
Did you notice at the last school? And I know this is a show for you.
Yeah, I was just talking about
But-
how people can get spun up and then not even really
Right.
understand what they're mad about, but they're just told by somebody else that
Yeah.
you need to be mad about this.
Yeah, that's 100% what happened.
Hey,
Yeah.
but that was the biggest turnout in the school committee ever.
Yeah.
Hey, at least people are participating in democracy
Yeah,
and
at
the
least
public process.
At least
I
they
mean,
showed up.
I'm just happy when people show up. It's thank you for
funny.
participating.
Well, that's one of the discouraging things you talk about all the time.
Oh yeah. So we're talking about policy. We have, just like a lot of schools, we have that transgender policy, and our transgender policy says transgender people can use the bathroom that they identify with.
Okay.
They can play on the sports teams with the the girls or boys, whatever they identify with, not what they are. And our policy says that not only are they not going to tell the parents, but the teachers are not allowed to tell the parents if the child is transitioning in the school. So, if my child is having an issue at home, then they're acting funny, they're acting different, because transgender people do have a higher rate of suicide. And my child at home is acting strange, and I call the school and I say, hey, my child is acting strange at home. Is anything wrong at school? They are not allowed to tell me that my child is transitioning. So like, it's a bad policy. I tried to bring it to the attention of the rest of the committee and have it brought out in a committee meeting, but it got, it's been stonewalled and, stiff-armed since I've been trying. They talked about it in a policy. But the issue is we don't have an instance. There is no transgender female that is, out there on the field hurting
Right.
other, actual, biological females. Once we get that, then people will probably be up in arms and people will pay attention to it and they'll come to the meetings and they'll try to change it. The problem is it's going to take 6 to 8 months to do that. So this is
Right.
going to be happening, but no matter how much I tried to get people involved, it just got no traction.
And you touch the third rail right now too of
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah.
That
Oh, yeah.
transgender school stuff, it makes people very, it is it's one of the more divisive issues
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
education right now.
It's a very odd
I would-
topic.
I would say that there are other issues that we shouldn't be so divided on in Rhode Island as it relates to education. I mean, we don't have great schools. And I think
No.
that's the
No.
reality of it. I'm trying to recruit my friends like anybody. I want my friends to live near me. And I'm from the South Shore. I went to school at UMass. A lot of my friends are in Massachusetts. And I would like them to move closer.
Yep.
It's not
Right.
that
Yeah, yeah,
far,
yeah.
but it's far enough. And they can't move because when they look at the economics of it, which the houses are cheaper,
Right.
but they
Here
look
or
at,
Mass?
yeah,
Here, gonna be at the
here,
Mass,
yeah.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know.
expensive. Everybody in
Mass
Rhode Island
expensive.
complains about the housing, but if you go look at Massachusetts, it's
Wow,
a
really?
bargain here. It's a deal. That's why everybody's so mad. People from Massachusetts
That's
are
why
now
everybody
moving
came
here.
in. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
everybody, exactly.
That was what hurt you in District 4.
That did hurt me in District 4, yes.
The Mass folks that came
Yes.
over, well,
So
you're kind of
they-
close to the
weren't
borders,
on my
though. What are you
team.
going to do?
Brad grew up in District 4
Yeah.
his whole life. He was in District
lost
4 and he lost District 4 because it's so close to Massachusetts
Yeah.
and so close to the highway
During
that
COVID.
all these, the bedroom community kind of style
Yeah.
of district now that they get on the highway, they go to Massachusetts, to Boston, do their job, they come back and they don't really get involved
Yeah.
in town stuff.
I don't know if I'm going to sell school reform by saying if we improve the schools, everybody from Mass will move here. But we do need, but it is a problem. It's a competitive issue.
No, don't bring people there. Don't bring.
I'm
here.
fine.
No,
It's I'm fine.
I'm just
Maybe
kidding.
the last person from Mass. But it really is an issue that we do need to improve our schools. We have the ability to
100%.
do that. And it's executing on that. Also, we do need to fix our capital. Well,
Yeah.
it's not relevant, or some suburbs think it doesn't impact them. We are such a small state that fixing Providence is really
Yes.
critically important to the rest of the state's economy. And it'll allow us to attract larger businesses because they don't necessarily look at the state as a whole. Maybe they could, but if we have better schools in Providence, it makes it more possible.
But do you
for-
think
Yeah,
that
way
that's
more
a-
appealing. I mean,
Yeah.
let's face it, a lot of people moved because of the schools.
do you
Yeah.
think though that the attracting the businesses here or attracting industry or attracting things here, do you think that that's something that a political leader should be focused on?
I think that it depends on how you do it.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in what I would call corporate welfare or
Sure.
using money to attract businesses, even if it's tax breaks, because studies show that they don't really work very well. The company will only hire the amount of employees they're obligated to hire. I think having an environment where companies want to be in a place really makes a difference in a regulatory and tax structure. And then also leadership that is welcoming to
Yeah.
business and creative. Like Rhode Island is an interesting state where I don't think we're ever going to be like a huge, big business state. I don't even
Right.
think we want to be that. Like
Right.
if you think about what that means,
Right.
Well, they can be that in Providence, just not in Cumberland.
there's a few, or like a few mid-sized businesses we could have in Providence, and that could really change. But I would love it. We're a small business state. We can be a startup state.
Yeah.
Businesses can grow here over time. But right now, we don't support that. And we can also try new industries that other states just can't because they're too big and complicated. Like we have an amazing opportunity because of our size to make some fundamental changes to the business environment or the type of businesses that we attract. We're the size of a county, which means that all of our problems that we have, it's almost embarrassing that we don't fix them because it's manageable. If you look at the actual number of children that we need to make sure can read, it's not that big. as compared to, let's say, you look at California.
Right,
That
yeah.
you look at that number
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's staggering.
Yeah.
As a state, we can put our arms around the kids that we need to help
Yeah.
more, and the fact that we don't is really a problem, and it's a problem at the executive level because there should be a responsibility to get that done. And we have technology now. Like
Yeah.
we know what works. We know that tutoring works for kids. The problem before was that we couldn't hire enough tutors because we're broke. That's the other
Yep.
thing. It's really easy to be creative when you have a bunch of cash. Like
Oh, yeah.
whenever Florida's like, we're growing so much, we've given so much money. I'm like, you are rich as a state now. It's so easy for you. You have a surplus. You don't have a deficit and a structural deficit. But we can be creative with it. And I think things like AI can help us do things like tutoring. We know that individualized tutoring for kids that is intensive works. So let's use AI to provide that support to children. And you were not hiring an army of tutors, which is what we needed to do to catch kids up from COVID. So let's use technology to our advantage in order to sort of outperform other states. I'm about competing with other states. It makes it fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I would love to compete
100%.
against Massachusetts. They always think
mean,
they're better than us.
Look at our healthcare system in Rhode Island right now. I mean,
The what?
The healthcare system.
The
I mean,
healthcare. I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
doctors in Mass make 33% more than Rhode Island.
The dancers next door are making too much noise.
Oh, I know. You can definitely hear that. They're not usually that loud. But I mean, yeah, I agree with you. It's
And how do we keep doctors if they can just drive across the border and
Right.
make more?
Make
I
more
mean, we
money.
can change the type of industry. We can change. We can have telemedicine.
Yeah.
We can also do a model where we have encouraged direct pay to deal with the issues with insurance, so that physicians can make more by participating in a model where they're not oppressed by insurance companies. That would be helpful. Maintaining independent doctors so that they're not employed by
Yes.
one hospital system is
Yes.
very important.
agree.
It's that, or like the other side, which isn't very conservative. It's like either if all the doctors are employed, they need to unionize, which is, but it's they control, the executives exert too much control over the physicians. If you have but you functionally have a one company sort of healthcare system,
Yep.
which is not good for doctors.
Not good.
And they are not able to take care of their patients in a way that is best for them. If they want to refer out, they're told to refer within the system. And so it's critically important that we allow an environment where doctors can be small business owners. That just comes from also, we started our business when we went to Illinois. We went there. My husband trained at University of Chicago, and we left. He had a chairmanship in Massachusetts, and we left there. His brother was there as well. And when we started our business, 70% of physicians were independent. By the time we were finally able to move home, the number went down to 30%. So the number, and I think you see a similar thing across the country. And that means you have less choice of doctors. Like having the doctors owned by private equity and by one hospital system
That's
has
not the
not
way to do
increased
it.
choice. It has
No.
not increased quality of care. And it's left it. So I waited 4 months to get an appointment with a pediatrician.
Doesn't that go kind of against antitrust laws?
Yeah, I mean, who knows who they enforce anything against anymore? It
know,
seems
right?
like
Oh.
big companies are. It's
no
you
accountability
would
there.
think. I mean, I would say like Peter Nerona prevented a merger that would have been bad. That was a few years ago.
Yeah.
But we still have the healthcare system collapsing here,
Yep.
and I don't think that there's a comprehensive solution. I would propose more of a free market solution. I think that what you're getting on the other side is, no solution, just like hope for the best and like
Yeah.
patch holes, try to give them more money, but that's not going to solve the problem. I think that the other side is going to try to go for a socialized medicine version. And because I've heard Peter talk about that a little bit, and he's really interested in healthcare. I don't think that that's the solution. I think that it ends up with rationing of care, and I really do believe in the free market.
Yeah.
And I hope we don't look to that as the solution. But we're on the cusp of a real crisis with healthcare here.
So
If
you guys-
anybody's gotten
you
their,
guys-
yeah.
You guys are in healthcare, right? Like you and your husband?
Yeah, we're in healthcare. I mean, less so than before. We've
Right.
diversified our businesses. It was a hard business to be in. We were independent. And it was really it was hard to make it with insurance.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was going to ask. How difficult is it to be a healthcare provider in this?
I mean,
environment or this-
impossible.
yeah.
My husband was a chief of craniofacial surgery at Brown at one point, and most of the kids he would treat because he did cleft lips and palates. We're on Medicaid. We wanted to provide that service in our independent practice and we couldn't afford it. So his specialty, he was lucky enough to move to a model where we didn't need insurance. We moved to all cosmetic surgery.
Oh, okay.
So we escaped the problem when it's like when we were getting paid $100 for a surgery. And we had paid, $350 for the staff for that surgery. Right. I mean, we weren't a charity, and even if we wanted to be, we had children and a family that we still had to pay our bills. So, so we had to move to a model of healthcare that we could afford to do. And they lost my husband's an excellent reconstructive surgeon.
Really?
He's a very good cosmetic surgeon, but I do feel like the community has lost out in having somebody doing reconstructive work.
Yep. So was that here in Rhode Island or was that in Illinois, you said?
So he trained in plastic surgery. He did his residency at Brown.
Okay.
And then
so that was in Mass.
What?
That was in Mass?
Brown.
That Rhode Island. I knew that. I don't know.
Brown. It's all right.
Let's have another one.
Tell the Florida guy.
Listen, I would love to. He did a residency at Brown, and then he came back and worked on staff for 5 years before taking a chairmanship at Mass. So it's the nature of academic medicine. So we're in academic medicine and then left for private practice. Private practice was definitely interesting.
You could tell I'm not educated. Hey, so my sister, she came to visit me a long time ago, and it runs in the family. The uneducation runs in the family. I picked her up at the airport in Providence, and we drove past the state capitol. And she's like, "Oh, you guys have a White House too."
It is a beautiful capital, I have to say. I see it all the time. Listen,
nice.
I'm all about, if Brown wants to move, I'm all about raising taxes on Brown and having them pay their fair share. So if they want to move to Massachusetts, that's fine. I would bet that they wouldn't be able to do that. And I think that they should, they need to do more for Providence. And I think having them, they act like a big corporation, and to not pay taxes is unacceptable.
Suck up all the properties in
Brown
town.
doesn't pay taxes?
No, they don't pay taxes.
Yeah,
they have a pilot program, which is they pay a certain amount in lieu of taxes. I would just prefer they pay taxes.
Just pay the taxes.
Yeah, and they're buying up residential properties
That's
for
what they're doing.
their professors, and they're not paying taxes on those either.
And it's hard on small businesses. We were thinking about opening another one. We moved to Providence. We were looking for a building. There just isn't much availability.
Right.
Not that I want them to liquidate because of it, but they have a different dynamic when they're buying as a nonprofit.
I don't understand why they don't pay taxes in the first place.
I'll tell you, that's the only way that you can have a business in Rhode Island is to get all these, these special, circumstances. Like
tax deals,
when Brad and we went to talk about affordable housing at the State House, because we have he was a guest on the podcast also, but he builds panel houses in Ireland.
Okay.
And he wants to bring the business over here. And at one point there were a couple of different companies that want to do these houses, these affordable panel, like what do you call them? Like
pop-up houses.
Factory build.
Factory built. That's what it is. Factory built houses. And at one point, somebody on the panel asked Brad and the other gentleman, so what are the advantages of being in Rhode Island? And unfortunately, in that business, because Brad wanted to start a manufacturing facility here, unfortunately, in that business, in every business, the answer is, well, that's just because that's where I'm from.
Yeah.
There are no advantages other than it's your home.
No,
and if you don't have those ties, then you'll move somewhere else where you can make more money and you can pay people less, because not that you want to pay people less, but the wages are less. And they were saying that upstate New York and in rural Pennsylvania are where most of these things are built, because it's you can make more money.
And realistically, that's kind of where we're at. We're at the point we're asking the state for some kind of a break.
Yeah.
Because we want to bring the manufacturing here, but might not make sense to bring the manufacturing here.
Well, that's the hard part about it, is it really probably doesn't make sense. And a lot of what we have remaining is because of sentimental ties. Even our largest businesses. That's why Hasbro eventually left, is that they lost a key stakeholder that cared about Rhode Island. And that's not really a business
not a
model
business
that
model.
worked.
No, that's not the way. Yeah,
I,
But with
I live here. I'll
housing-
stay here. You know what
I don't know
I
how
mean?
the seaport's any cheaper,
Well,
but
we should also have the government not solve our problems. We talk
I
about
agree with
housing and,
that.
and ADUs. Like one of the things we fixed not fixed, we're trying to fix some of the regulatory stuff, which is the government causing problems with regulation. So
Big time.
removing some of that. But even when we talk about the housing bond that was passed, I think if we're going to take money, we should also return it back to the people of Rhode Island. So instead of giving all of these sort of huge amounts of money to corporate developers that are going to take 6 years, why not let Rhode Islanders borrow money to build ADUs at 1% interest? Because I can bet you that people will build those quickly and efficiently,
Yes.
and they'll use them in their house. And if it's owner occupied, we can keep out, if like, let's say you need to get the loan, but you have to live there, then you keep out the corporate speculators, and then you can age in place, or you can have your kid live there. And then that money that we've already provided as taxpayers in a bond is going directly back to people in Rhode Island, rather than a developer from wherever that's going to take 6 years and then decide, oh, I don't want to do it
Don't wanna
anymore.
do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
100%.
too expensive. You know what? If you take a part of that $100 million, put $30 million in a pot and let the people here decide, and then make sure that cities and towns can expedite the approvals, you will have housing built very, very quickly.
it's a
But they
big
don't-
key, expediting the process, because
But they don't have
right
any
now
control.
the process, because of every town in the state has a different way of doing it, and perfect example, how long that take? That for a house that really could have been done
Oh yeah.
3 months, soup to nuts.
No,
It'll take over a year.
Over in Ireland, they build them in a week. And
Yeah.
that house that we built a house in Warwick. One of the Irish houses
Yeah,
came
Yeah.
over and
kinda
they
like the
built it in
model.
Warwick. In 3 days, the entire exterior was up. It was weatherproofed in,
That's
in
so
three
cool.
in 3
Steel
days.
frame construction. Yeah.
Over in Ireland, the interior panels come already installed. All they do is they put it up, they sock it together, and in a week you are in your living room watching TV, cooking on your stove. In a week.
And the houses are
Here,
nice.
Yeah.
here it was
It's overregulated.
was like almost, it was like 9 months, 8 or 9 months.
It's almost a year. Yeah.
Yeah, almost a year. A year for a house that takes a week in Ireland. It was almost a year here.
And see, if you're a homeowner and you buy land, you're paying
Yeah,
for it
you're
and
paying
you're
for
paying
it.
taxes on it. So all
100%.
that time, you're not living in your house, you're paying for something while you're waiting for zoning
Yeah.
approvals. And that's the sort of stuff that, you can get. ADUs, I can wrap my head around for zoning. It's like, okay, have a model group that you approve, because the concerns are always the same. It's parking, noise, trash.
Yeah.
And if you can find a configuration that can be expedited so everybody can agree this version is okay, then give people the option to do that. But right now, we need to stop sort of the nonsense. And I understand why cities and towns want to do it. They want to maintain the character of the area. They want to make sure that it's, not crazy. But I think that you can find a middle ground that's reasonable, or like parameters that work so that people can actually start building. We're getting closer now with the legislation that was passed. I think that it'll be a little bit better.
Do you know what legislation was that?
So it was a series of housing bills. Joe Shikarchi pushed it. That he is, I guess, if I'm like the Republican side, he would be like I would say my opposite. I would never consider Dan McKeon equal. I don't mean to be a jerk, but he's just not.
We're gonna get into that.
So Joe would be like my counterpart, but it's good policy and it was needed. So I really think that he did a good job. Now that's a legislative side. Now you need to implement it, and that's where you have to have a strong governor
the
go
right
into the
people.
cities and towns, or like Johnston, right? The
Yes.
mayor got so much whatever because there was an affordable housing place, and he took it by eminent domain. He didn't want it there. And he did everything to make sure it didn't happen. But he's not an anti-development mayor. A good governor goes in and says, okay, so you just took 100 units away from me. Help me find where we can put 100 units in your community, because we need more housing. And that mayor, if he was part of the process and had good leadership, I think that he would work with a good governor. Instead, people just caused problems with him and just said, "Oh, he's terrible. He hates affordable housing," and it's like,
Yes, they spun it.
yeah, it's just like,
And the media
like,
jumped on board.
but it doesn't solve the
No, it
problem.
doesn't solve the
Right.
problem.
And
No,
so it's
just
like,
throwing stones.
instead of trying to say we need more housing, how can we do it in an appropriate way where you can be supportive? They just, made him the problem, and we still don't have the housing. So I think that having somebody who is clear on their vision, but also is willing to work with municipalities in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And it does take a little bit of more RAM than I would say McKee has, or like more nuance,
Yes.
because you got to know who you're working with.
Tell us how you really feel about it.
I know.
Not
I
in
was
a-
actually trying to. I'm actually being nice. Believe it or not. Sometimes I say things and I'm like, I am so diplomatic, and people are like, oh my goodness.
Well, I do want to get into that a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about your debate with him. Or
Which one? We did a
your
few. Yeah.
debates with him.
Yeah.
I know that there was a lot of things that he hurled at you, and it felt like, at least according to our associate producer, he said that it felt like you were, at least in the first one, that you were very like respectful of the process, like you didn't want to be like attacking all the time.
Well, because
But,
I wanted to express my ideas are better.
Sure.
And I'm sure about that. And it's better for Rhode Island. And so the policy side of me thought, well, let my ideas win. Who cares about the attacks? Because I don't think that will matter. Now, I may have been wrong.
Yeah.
It may not all be that.
Maybe
And maybe
old
people,
school that would have worked, but now in today's climate,
it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And but the other part about it is that history, having time pass is a wonderful thing when you're right, because you're proven to be correct.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
And so the Superman building subsidies, I was against that. That's now stopped, a mess. Well, I was against the merger for Rhode Island Energy because I predicted that costs were going to increase.
That's an absolute mess.
And it is a mess. I questioned his ethics when it came to the FBI investigation. And because there was no law against bid rigging, he did not get charged. McKee's entire legacy, this is where I'm not going to be nice, his legacy as a governor will be, the only legacy that he will have is that he is the governor that made it so that we had anti-bid rigging legislation.
And
the
the Washington
only
Bridge.
thing we,
And the Washington
and the
Bridge,
Washington
yeah.
Bridge. Let's say the Washington Bridge, I guess, but it didn't fall. And it's, for, so
Thank God.
They
thank
couldn't even
God.
get a bid on that one.
But that's all he'll be. Yeah, I guess the bridge will be a bad thing to be remembered for. But that's the only accomplishment that he's had, is he's prevented bid rigging in the future, because he did that, and people were like, "Oh, we have to tell you that's wrong and put it in law." And then also when we talk about competency, I like to think that I am fair, and I do not blame Dan McKee for a problem that he didn't create.
Sure.
And that bridge fiasco was something that was in the making before him.
That's
Yeah, I
beyond
agree
him,
with
yeah.
that.
But
100%.
it speaks
I
to
think
his
Gina did that.
leadership. It was, I think it was during the Gina era. Elvidi was there. I think what we saw on the oversight panel, I after that understood what the problem was intellectually. It wasn't just like this guy, because Dan McKee's incompetence didn't cause the bridge problem.
No.
True.
It didn't help fix the bridge. Like, I'm sure it delayed it a year or whatever in terms of bidding and stuff like that. But their inability to explain that the fact that the way that DOT outsources all of its expertise as a government agency led to this problem, because there was no one in the agency that could recognize that a problem existed.
Right.
And that is how we ended up with a disaster. Now, you first have to say, like, this is what the systemic problem is, and then you have to have a solution that makes sense, which is, in the future, we're going to hire people with the technical expertise to be able to recognize when a bridge is falling down. Like, when all the reports say the bridge is falling down, and Alvidi's like, well, nobody here is hired to say that the bridge is falling down. They hire people to check other people's work.
So we had,
And they did, yeah. I was
we
going to
had-
say, you should listen to the Ray Cody episode.
we had
That was-
Rob Cody on.
Rob
Okay.
Cody, sorry.
And he's a not a structural engineer. He's a bridge inspector.
Yes,
He
I'm
does-
familiar with.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know
with
him, okay.
Yeah.
And he was showing us there was at least 4 years worth of reports.
different inspection firms.
Every year looked like they just copied and pasted, to include spelling errors.
Once he called them out on it.
Well, that's what happens when you outsource quality. And so there was an idea. This is about also having the RAM in terms of an interest in public policy history, which is, there was an idea called Thatcherism, which is conservative, that you should trust a lot of government functions to contractors. And to a certain extent, that was efficient. but you can't. We learned is that we did it to an extreme, and we lost competent people in government. So that's why you go to government agencies and they don't. It's not to be mean and say they're like, when I say Dan's incompetent, I mean it to be sort of mean. But when I'm talking about an employee, I mean they don't have the skills. They literally don't know how to do it because they're not an engineer.
Right.
And we need to make sure that we keep quality within, like quality functions within government, also because of the pressures. And I can talk about that as a contractor in terms of retaliation, which is what I faced in Rhode Island, is that if you, let's say that you have somebody who's building a bridge and you have a quality inspector that's a contractor and you have a state employee. If the quality person delays the bridge because of quality too much, the builder is going to complain to the state and say this quality inspector's no good. They're not easy to work with. They're difficult. And that quality person, they want to keep their contract. So either they lose their contract or they get more accommodating. It's just the human nature of it. But if you have a state employee that's doing quality, it's the best thing about state employees. They don't care. They're not losing their job
100%.
and they're going to ensure quality. And guess what? They don't care if the builder is delayed. The builder still needs to get it done.
Yeah.
So those are some lessons about like outsourcing that most states have sort of learned, is that you can't outsource quality functions to contractors because of the nature of the dynamics.
Doesn't that happen in Rhode Island with our water lines, or in Cumberland?
What?
The
yeah,
whole
broken water
outsourcing
lines.
to, because you outsource it to more competent, you're getting, it's more expensive for Cumberland. Is that what you're saying, or did I miss it?
I didn't say it.
completely? No, I was saying, is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know about Cumberland, but I know that that outsourcing to contractors, like you still need somebody within a government agency that can do it. But quality functions become really tricky because quality stops timelines. So if you're building a road or a bridge and you have one contractor that's in charge of building it, and let's say they get penalized if it's late, and then you have this quality guy being like, I don't like it, I don't like it, I don't like it. The contractor's going to freak out on the state side saying this guy's a problem. And then what ends up happening is you get picked on when you bring up issues. You become the problem for bringing up the problems. And, I would say my experience in Rhode Island in bringing up problems, when I worked in COVID testing, it wasn't like received as like a great thing.
Yeah,
It's
I feel that pain. I do it on the school committee almost every meeting, and then it's always a 5-2 vote, and they just wipe it under the rug. But I just wanted to make one correction. You keep trying to let Dan McKee off the hook because it was Gina Raimondo. He was the lieutenant governor who famously was not speaking with Gina Raimondo for, years? I think it was.
Years.
So he had nothing to do because he wasn't getting any jobs from her. So he had all the free time in the world to go and.
I feel like public safety and interest was actually protected by him not going there. The more we can, but our choices, and this is where we go into what are we going to do next cycle, which is that it's Dan McKee is a certain version of a choice, but right now I see on the Democrat side an equally unsuitable choice. I would say even more unsuitable choice than Dan McKee from a moral perspective. And this is where it gets weird for me, which I have Dan McKee, which I value competence, and he doesn't show it. And he, hasn't been able to produce results for the people of Rhode Island. And now they've given him a chance. He's had a full term, and he has not done a good job.
Royally failed.
I would say, I asked him, I'm sure his assessment might be a little bit better, but I don't think that he's done a good job.
So politicians are crooks. Now, someone said that Dan McKee's not competent enough to be a high-level crook. He's more of a...
I would
kidding.
think like the way that I describe. So you have Dan McKee. I'll give analogies. I'm not saying that these people commit crimes, even though it would be.
I don't mean crook in the sense of.
Actually, Dan McKee, I think that what he did should have been illegal and now is with bid rigging. But it wasn't illegal then, so he gets off. But you also have, Helena on the other side, which is a real problem for me, a bigger problem. So I have if you're choosing there, and I would like people to have a better choice. You have McKee, who's sort of like a shoplifter, like a petty
Yeah,
sort
that's what
of
I was
like
talking about.
guy, which is he'll like do things and like he'll be like, it's just my friend, and like it's sort of the like Rhode
Yes.
Island like low level criminality that's
No.
all based on relationships.
Good
No,
old
Dan's
boy.
not a real shoplifter. Just I want to make that
No,
clear.
I'm doing an analogy. He's not a shot. I have no
Everybody
evidence
but you
of
got
this.
that, Caleb.
But you
I
know,
know.
you have that, and then you have like Darth Vader in a sweater set, which is Helena, and she is a
I
big
can
time.
totally see that.
She
yeah.
is a big time problem, almost a moral problem, because she was the head of CVS pharmacy during the opioid crisis,
Opioid, yeah, they
and
get
so and her decisions. Were really impacted that crisis. And she can't separate herself from it because there are a bunch of civil fines. The DOJ is looking into it. And the thing is that she is running on her ability to be a competent executive. She caused one of the biggest public health crisis in the US. It has killed more people than were killed in all of soldiers in all of World War II. You have over 1 million children in foster care, over 100,000 people incarcerated. Not one of those pharmacy executives were sent to jail, which is why people don't believe in government anymore, is because we do not punish white collar criminals and we let them pay
No.
fines instead of going to jail. Which, listen, if you're a small level drug dealer, imagine you get caught with some drugs and you're like, well, what's the fine? They don't get
Right.
that option.
No,
They
they
go
don't
to
get that
jail.
option. Yeah.
So, you have for her, it's a really big problem. And what she's going to try to say is, I'm a competent executive. Dan's a dope. Vote for me. But when you look at her record, the pain and also the level of failure that she exhibited in her executive leadership really should not allow her to be governor either. And she didn't just mess up at CVS. She went to Hudson Bay, so she got her second chance. That company has now gone bankrupt. 200-year-old company. Like,
Oh, jeez.
it's so.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, so you can't run. I mean, maybe you can just make it up these days, but
So it
you
seems.
shouldn't be able to run on competent executive leadership with a history of failures. I feel like I can say I have a history of successes. I have multiple businesses that have done well. And when I have been challenged with making millions of dollars by keeping my mouth shut or doing the right thing, I chose to do the right thing. And that's what got me in a fight with Dan McKee, is when I saw bad things happening, I was not willing to turn the other way. And with Helena, she had that choice too. And she decided to do the opposite. Or she just didn't recognize. It's really easy to ignore things you don't want to see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then they both throw stones
Believe
at each
me, I
other.
have
It's like
3
they-
children. I have to make
Yeah.
my decision. Am I gonna pick this or not? So Rhode Island is, we do need a better choice in leadership in terms of where we're going to be. And we're not going to a place where it's going to be easy either, because the COVID fund money is gone. We have a structural deficit. So we need executive leadership that's creative. Like, they need to know how to bring businesses in when we're broke.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that the options that the Democrats are putting out there are not good. I'm hoping that we'll have a good Republican option. I'm not
We
married
could.
to being me. I would like, I think that it would be better for me if I could just support somebody.
Look, I have
That was like-
a gift certificate, a dinner gift certificate on the line to get you to say whether or not you're running or not.
I haven't. The truth is,
I'm
I
just kidding.
haven't decided,
No, I'm just
and I would. I mean, I don't really feel the pressures to decide in any way. I'm weird in my philosophy. I really am against. I don't like feeling like I owe anyone anything.
Right.
So
yes.
I feel like money always comes with strings attached.
Yep.
And the benefit of being a business person that's semi-retired going into politics is that I can self-fund, and then I don't feel like I owe anybody anything, which means I don't really care.
It's funny. That was one of my taglines during the
Yeah.
mayor thing.
It's
I don't
true.
want to owe nobody nothing. So the same thing is I funded a lot of my campaign. As
Yeah,
well.
if you can fund most of it. I mean, I'm really grateful for small dollar
Right.
donors. Like, that makes a difference. But the big dollar donors expect access at the very least.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't want to answer the phone for you, I don't want to feel like I'm going to do it.
So-
I
Oh,
don't want to do
exactly.
it.
100%.
So we have The Wire, right? Like I do. Well, not we. But I do the Wire, which is a independent journalist type deal,
Okay.
right? I don't want to take. I'm I mean, every venture that you do, and you're in business. Every venture that you do costs money to produce a
Yeah.
product. But I have a hard time wanting to stoop to the level to accept sponsorships, or I know right now the Valley Breeze, they get $50,000 a year
it
or
was
something
48
like that
grand
from the
for the
state
town.
to put in
No, from the
their
To the town.
to the town. I'm
To the
sorry,
town
yeah, I meant
budget,
the
yeah,
town
just spread it out all over the place.
to be able to put their notices, public
Yeah.
notices, things like that.
All
But
legal stuff.
because they get that 50,000, if the Breeze decides that they want to run a report on something that the town is doing, they get a phone call and say, "Hey, we're going to pull your funds," and it happened.
Yeah, it did
It
happen.
happened. So they're withholding to it. I wouldn't want that. Just like you're saying, I wouldn't
Yeah,
want
there's
that.
an element, and I don't know how you balance it.
Right.
I mean, it's a luxury that I have that I'm grateful for.
Mhm.
And I probably would have, it's also my personality is not great for fundraising, or for that expectation. So that's why I waited till I was also at a point in my life where I could run the campaign that I wanted to, or be able to do it the way I want to. It also changes how you spend your time in a campaign, which I was able to spend it with people, not asking for things, and that it changed the dynamic where I wasn't dialing all the time and asking people for money. I was able to build relationships and ask for votes
Yeah.
and ask for volunteer time, and I felt more comfortable with that.
Yeah, and it makes people want to volunteer more because not everybody is as good on the phone as maybe a salesperson or as somebody that's constantly like, "Would you like to donate $5 to this
Fundraising's
blah blah
awful.
blah?" Yeah,
I mean, it's
people
an
don't like
I
it.
important thing, and
hate
people,
doing it.
Yeah.
and everybody
I don't like
does,
doing
and
it.
and I understand the argument that it shows a mechanism of public, like it shows support, because that's what I'm always like with Helena. I'm like, who cares how much money she raises? It's as irrelevant as if like I could just put that money in, she could just put 3 times as much money in. And I'm always asking the reporters, like, why are you reporting on something that has
Yeah, right.
absolutely no relevance to anything in the world? It doesn't matter how much she raises because it's not a factor in her campaign.
No.
Right.
And they say, well, it shows a level of support. I think that that's true if you look at like small dollar donations, but that's not really what a lot of politicians are looking
Right.
for. And, when somebody's giving you $2,000, that's a lot of money.
It is.
I mean, maybe to her it's not, so
Yeah.
like she doesn't recognize
Yeah,
it. But to
right.
me, I look at that and I go, I'm not giving somebody $2,000 unless I expect something from them, or it's a true, like it's a really big deal. Like one of my big, the things that I did, because I feel that housing is a big issue. So I donated to Joe Shikarchi when he got all of those housing bills passed as a expression of, I didn't need it for any other, I don't want anything from him. It only hurt me. But I just wanted to express how appreciative I was for him doing something that was so good for the state. Had no impact on my life at all, will never. But that is a mechanism, I guess, where if you donate, then it's like that. But most of the time it's not.
I wish
Doesn't
more
work
people
that
were
way.
like that.
Rewarding results.
Yeah.
I didn't donate to him until after everything was passed. I was like, but maybe that's what we do. Is that's how you actually with politicians is if they provide policy results that you like, then you donate.
Yeah.
But most people are like do it so that they can influence
Yeah.
policy. So
They should only allow angel
Oh.
investors to give money.
It's like, well, exactly. Well, it's like my dad always says, like, oh, who you voting for? Oh, the winner.
Who did that? Your dad should run, by the way.
He'll never do it.
we need more people to run. We need normal people to run for
Yeah, we need
political
regular-
office.
Regular guy, not the lifelong politician. You're right. Need the regular Joe.
It's
step
weird.
up.
Like, why would you politics is service. So you should, the whole idea of being a career politician is so weird to me because it means that you take a bunch of jobs that you're not really good at or don't really want in order to get another job
Yeah.
and that you're not necessarily suited for. I don't really think that like the skill set for a treasurer or whatever that treasurer really necessarily goes to governor. It's an executive. It's just like a whole different job.
Right.
So I don't like the career politician thing. And I hate that we've turned it into a career ladder for service. Like if you're serving your community, you should do something that you're passionate about, that you like, without this idea that you're going to keep on doing it forever, or there's this expectation to keep on doing it.
And that's
So
a
term
problem, right?
limits. But
Yeah,
so,
For those, yeah.
but there used to be politicians used to only go down and be in session a certain period of the year. They were your doctors, they were your firemen, they like all the rest of the time that they were your politician or your legislator, they would go or they would have a normal job. And then once every couple months, or not once for a couple months, they would go and say, "Hey, is there anything that your state is needs, or is there any?" And I don't know when. I'm trying to figure out when it actually went from a part-time job, more of a, like you said, a civic servant, to actually becoming a full-time.
Well, it should feel like I don't know when it changed to be a full-time. I mean, I would say even in Rhode Island, part-time serving, even though it's a part-time job, it's still a full-time job. But I think the difference in Washington is it became a way to make money and to have influence rather than just something that people, leaders in their community, were expected to do as like service. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like a beach cleanup.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
love those, but I do them anyway. Like that's kind of what going down to DC used to be. So everybody, I think it turned into something that was like an unfortunate thing that you had to do if you were a leader of a community, to like a way to like a job. And
Yeah.
also a way to make money. I mean, these Congress people have so much. I mean, they get to inside trade. And if I did that, I'd go to jail. Like, I don't even understand why we allow that stock trading to happen. They get rich that way.
You look at how much they come in, what their value is when they come into the office, and what they're worth when they leave.
And
it's
they're
like-
totally
it's disgusting.
unashamed. They're
Yeah.
totally unashamed.
Disgusting.
They just reported it on Nancy Pelosi, and it's all over the news, and
Oh,
everyone's just like, "Oh, what can you do?"
she's done better than every other financial advisor in the entire country the last 5 years.
You know, if Seth, he has a ban on Congress. I don't know what the final thing is, but basically to stop the insider trading
Yes.
of Congress people. And that would be great if that
It's a
came
home
from
run.
Rhode Island. I would be really proud of our state,
Yeah.
even though he's a Democrat or whatever, but he would make me really proud as a congressperson if he were able to do that. That would make a huge difference in terms of the legitimacy of those that serve. And I hope that he continues that fight that doesn't seem to be progressing.
doesn't seem to be
But
working.
it's like, if you could, I would love it if we could. I would be very proud of our state if that came from somebody that represented part of our state, even if he's a Democrat. That's fine. I'm sort of bipartisan
it's
that
the
way.
right
You can
thing.
do good things if
Yeah.
you do the right thing, and
It's
it's
the
so
right thing.
clearly the right thing. I don't know if I would donate to him as a result. It
Yeah,
might be a
right.
little different, but I would be very grateful because that would really impact the future of our country, and it would make a really big difference.
So I think that the politicians, they used to go for a couple months, make the laws, and then they had to go back to their districts and live under the laws that they made. Once they didn't have to do that anymore.
You're still on that.
I hate DC too. Don't worry about it. I don't like any of it. When I've been involved in politics. Last run was the first time that I had run for political office, but I've always been civically engaged.
Sure.
But the way that I was taught is that you send all sort of the like people who can't get along in the state to DC. Like if they're part of your party,
community.
like the people who you
out of
use
sight,
it as
out
a-
of mind.
yeah, exactly. You're like, you can raise money and then you send them away. We have this great opportunity for you to go to Congress. So that's what I was taught you do with like people in your party that are sort of annoying that you want to get rid of. You send them to
Jay,
DC,
you
you
should
never
run
see them
for,
again.
for Senate.
I'm not running for anything.
He's trying to get rid of you.
I'm just kidding.
That way you can talk about what Senate used to do 150 years ago. Uninterrupted.
That's funny.
Anyway, so we don't have much time left, but I wanted to get into a few of the policy. Like, I know when I talked to you on the phone, there was a few things that you had mentioned that I feel like, because you mentioned them, they were important. One was the school policy. You wanted to talk about school policy.
And I did a little bit. We talked about
Right.
using AI in
And that was another
schools.
one, yeah.
And then also reforming funding. If we change the school funding formula, and
Yes.
we've done it. I actually did it in Illinois when I served under Governor Rauner, who was a Republican governor in that state. While I had my business, it was crazy that I had
And would you serve as? How did you serve?
I worked as the what was my title? See, this is a problem. I don't care about titles anymore. Director of outreach or
Oh, okay,
coalitions. So my job was to work with different interest groups within the community. So I can't. It's basically anybody who's not a politician, so I didn't have to work with them. But we worked on school funding for reform, and the way that we did it was to create the idea in reforming the formula was to make the differences between the poor and the rich school districts a little bit less, because the school districts that could raise a lot of money through property taxes just had so many more resources.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it was evidence-based resourcing, which is just because a school asks for money, the way that the money was provided was for things that we knew would work for that school district. So if they needed more money for teaching or for, like, say, special ed. So that's how the formula was reformed, so that it was more equitable. And then also that the money that was given was based on evidence that the money was given for a specific reason. That worked well. If we could just focus on closing those gaps in Rhode Island, that would be great. I think also creative use of technology. Aside from AI, making sure that parents have access to we talk about parental involvement, and that's one of the biggest drivers of success of kids. But if you're a working parent, and I experienced this a lot, because when I was our business was ORs, and when I'm stuck in the OR in surgery, you just can't leave. Like you just get stuck. Like your patient's there, you're stuck.
Kids pack
You
up and
can't-
they see
yeah,
them
you're
out.
there. It's just like it ends when
Later.
it ends when the surgery's over. It ends when the patient's discharged, and they have no regard for your schedule. And so one of the things we can do is we can make it more more accessible to parents to see how their kids are doing. My kids are in private schools, and they've been in a variety of private schools. The private schools, a lot of them have a system where you log in as a parent, and I can tell you exactly what my kid gets on every single quiz. I can tell you what homeworks are missing. I can tell you what they're learning. And that level of transparency and visibility is not consistent throughout the state, and it locks parents out of being able to be involved, because you can't always be involved at 3 p.m.
No.
Right.
Public school doesn't have that type of system. 'Cause
Not all of
same
them,
thing,
not-
my kid goes to private. My kids go to private school as well.
No,
I have
I don't
the,
think it's consistent across.
Cumberland does.
Yeah, 'cause I know we can
but,
log.
but
Yeah.
I don't know if every town does.
No, it's not every single town. It's a burden financially. If the state could provide that so that you get parental involvement.
Yeah.
Because we can log into Aspen. We check my kids' grades.
Are you in private or
No,
public?
it's Cumberland.
We're in
We
Cumberland.
just said that.
So you're
Cumberland
public.
has it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
you're,
I was just emphasizing the point.
It's not everywhere, and it's not consistent. And also, you may not see the level. Like, let's
Right,
say
okay.
that your kid is struggling in one area. I can usually see like what the lesson is, like
Right.
what algebra lesson. And that was a big deal where I couldn't see it during COVID when my kids were in public schools, because I wanted to catch them up, but I didn't even know where they were. So I couldn't even help. I don't know if I would be much help in math first. Maybe when they were in elementary school.
these days.
Now my high schooler, I'm like, oh, you're out of luck. Ask ChatGPT to figure that one out for you. But allowing that transparency and engagement. And that's also when we talk about different gaps between communities, is that I don't know if you consider yourself a richer district, but like no, everybody
I
thinks
don't
everybody
personally.
thinks they're a poor
We-
district.
So we have we have
Personally.
both. We have
Yeah,
so
we
we have
got a
a
combination.
we have,
yeah.
like you were talking about the parental involvement, the one employee household, one income household. In the northern part of Cumberland, that's pretty standard, pretty common. In the southern part of Cumberland, is it's less of it. So I'm not saying there's less parental involvement, but there are more families in the northern part
Jake,
of
talking
Cumberland.
to the
that-
mic a little bit.
Oh, there, so just by proxy of that, the a couple of schools in the more affluent part of town do better. But so we have kind of both sides of the coin in Cumberland.
And that's a use of technology that should be standard to bring parents in, because there are ways to bring parents into education, and it shouldn't be a fight for parents to know what kids are being taught. I don't know how that became a political thing. I don't even understand it, because I feel like that question of what is the curriculum, what are my kids learning, that is a question for parents that myself when I was working, where I just wanted to know so I could help my kid. There was no agenda. So accessibility to that at all times, and also being able to pull parents in so that they don't go to a conference
Yeah.
and find out that their kid is failing. Like I would get a text message every time my kid got a grade under like a certain percent. It was very stressful for everybody. I would say like maybe it was too much.
TMI.
Yeah, it was like immediately I was like, what is going on here? But I always knew, and I'm involved in their education, but technology brought me into where my kids were in a way that really wasn't possible even a few years ago. And I don't think it's a standard across districts. We also do need to stop social promotion. It is Mississippi is called the Mississippi Miracle now in terms of their ability to get kids to read. I don't really know Mississippi, to tell you the truth, but I'm sure I would like it. And I don't want to say mean things about it. But coming from New England, I've always thought of New England as like this education place, and to have Mississippi and Florida outperform us, which
Yeah.
is what is happening.
Louisiana, it's better than us.
embarrassing.
It is
And
embarrassing.
so like we need to really start focusing on that, which means that if you cannot read in third grade, you do not get a social promotion. You get intensive interventions, which is how the Mississippi Miracle, where they had a disaster and now the kids are performing very well. Better than us. We need to do that sort of stuff. And what's even more embarrassing is we're so small.
Right.
What is a social promotion?
It means that, okay, so social promotion is you academically are not where you need to be, where we expected you to be, let's say in third grade. You can't read, let's say.
Right.
But because we don't want to hurt your feelings, I know I feel like I'm taking it on you, but because we don't want to socially, the idea was that holding kids back created a stigma and it hurt kids.
No child left behind.
Well, but you do leave them behind by promoting them
right.
socially.
Promote 'em.
And so
Can't progress them
stopping
forward. They
that
haven't learned.
practice and making it, stopping that practice and really focusing on what matters, which is that you need to be reading by third grade or your outcomes are not, it is not going to be good for you along the way, is what matters. So, that element is important, but also it's what happens to make that happen. Like we have, our levels are not good. So we do need intensive tutoring. I get it. We have no money. That's where we need to use technology.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're broke when our budget is so big.
It's a huge budget, yeah.
So I went to a school committee for all the school committees, and they put I can't remember the exact numbers, but they put up on the screen that we increased our administrators 70%, and our teachers were like, we kept a even line on the teachers. So we're hiring more administrators and not the teachers. So the people that
Yeah.
are managing the teachers we're hiring, but the people that are actually doing the teaching, we're not hiring.
Yeah, I don't
help
think
the
that
child.
teachers are asking for more bosses.
Right.
I don't
No,
think any,
definitely not.
and that's a priority problem. You see that in healthcare administration too, which is that we add layers of management. Government's really good at adding layers of management. That's
yeah.
pretty much all it's good
I
at.
blame
Paying
FDR.
over,
It's just
over-
adding
started
on.
it.
overpaying for positions.
FDR started it.
Well, if we
Yes.
take the money and we put it into actual education, that's where I think we're going to get
Yeah.
the most return. And we spend a lot of money on education. Like if you look at what Florida spends per student, and they're getting better outcomes. So I don't care about how much money we're spending. I really care about the question of value. And I don't think we're getting our value
Not
when
getting our
we're,
money's worth,
when we're
100%.
getting outperformed.
So something you said in the debate
Maybe a
is that
tax bill.
spending isn't the same as planning.
Right. I don't know what that was in reference to, but yeah, I mean.
But
can't
it
just
could
keep
be a
throwing more
reference to
money at it.
anything. You can't just throw money at something.
Well,
and expect it
that
to
was
get
what
better.
that's how a lot
100%.
well, I think that's how a lot of policy is being driven now in government, which is if there's a problem, the immediate solution is that we
Throw
need
money
to,
at it.
increase funding for it. And I don't think that that's always the case. You need to have a plan,
Yeah.
and then that plan needs to dictate funding. And the plan that failed you before can't be the same plan that you do again.
No.
And plans without an actionable steps is just a dream.
Well, right. That's why even when we talk about this housing legislation, okay, that's step one. Now go build houses.
Yeah.
I would say that's the hard part, but I've always lived on the executive implementation side where it's like the ideas are great. Now making them into reality that's where that real competency and also the skill set and understanding why certain things are a challenge
Yep.
is where you do need somebody that is pretty seasoned in terms of leading, and
it's-
success matters.
And it's
You have
got
the
to be
right people
trickle
in the
down.
right spot.
You know, you
Like you
can't-
said, there's too much hiring buddies of buddies of buddies that
Yep.
don't necessarily have they don't have the wherewithal, the experience in they're being hired for.
McKee got very upset with you when you kept pointing out you're under FBI investigation. So
I mean-
I am not under investigation.
He
during the
was
debate.
under FBI
know.
investigation.
I think
It's like
was it
getting mad
Gene?
at me for stating a fact.
Who
I mean,
was-
it's like Kalina. It's like, no, like you don't, like you were CVS pharmacy president. Like it's an actual fact.
What wasn't it the host that actually pointed out? Yeah, you are. Valcenti actually pointed out you are under investigation.
Yeah,
That's
it's.
kinda
I
funny.
mean, I get maybe to know. I mean, wasn't trying to surprise him.
Yeah.
It's like a
You gave it
Biden
away.
moment.
It was the secret investigation. Hey.
You know, it's. I don't even know if he's going to make it out of the primary. I've encouraged him to retire, spend more time in Florida. I think that would be the best thing. But again, we also do need a competent leader to come out of this election, because it's the hard times where easy times, it's sort of easier, but we're about ready to go into hard times in terms of budget. So we need to find somebody who can do the job. And I guess that's always my call, is if people are in it for the right reason and they have experience leading. Nobody's ever been unless you're a
No.
reelected governor, it's just an executive position where you're,
Yeah.
managing a bunch of people, but you have people that manage the people. So, it can, people
the
get
right people.
discouraged and they think that they shouldn't run. And if you've been really successful in business or other things, you might be a good fit for the role. Can't be worse than McKee.
Right.
No, you
Right.
just gotta surround yourself with good people.
So, I mean, there's so much more that, like, I personally wanted to talk to you about. Like, I really wanted to get into AI and government, because I mean, AI is kind of where it's at. But we're gonna have to, like, this show we've already gone like over, like we're over an hour now.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, I talk a lot.
No.
No, it's
It's
totally
fine.
fine.
But this will force you to have to come back at another time.
Yeah,
so
we
that
can talk AI
continue.
and government. It'll happen
Yes.
before I mean, it's happening right now,
Oh,
or
yeah,
it
it's
should
crazy.
be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to set the record straight? Because I know, like, at least the debate that I watched, you were. It felt like you were interrupted a lot. You were.
Kind of like the podcast.
Do you feel like I was interrupting you?
No, I can just no. It's actually for the best, because I can just keep on talking.
Don't say that, because next debate, McKee will try to, like, interrupt you again. No, I'm just kidding. Next, right. So, looking back, what would you do? Is there anything you would do differently in your run?
It's hard to really say, because
Sure.
like any experience, it sort of changes you as a person. So I'm not 100% the same person that I was when I ran the first time. And so maybe I would do a few things differently, but it's so, easy now to go back and say, like, I shouldn't have let him talk
Of
over
course.
to me. And I don't necessarily think that those things would make a
Yeah,
difference.
they wouldn't translate into votes.
I don't
No,
understand.
I don't think so. I think that what I've done is, reflected on why we are where we are. I think it's sort of reinforced that I do believe my policy is correct, because when it's implemented, it works in
Yeah.
other places, and it hasn't worked here. I
Well, it hasn't
think,
been implemented here.
yeah, I think, well, yeah, we haven't had the chance to have
The
leadership
opportunity,
that tries things that are a little bit different. That's our only choice going forward. So I
Yeah.
don't think I would change anything. I do think the process changed me, and you get to choose as a person. I think that it is changed me in a positive way, even if the experience wasn't all positive.
Yeah.
You learn a lot more from losing
Yeah.
than you do from winning. And I think that experience was good, because I had a lot of business wins,
Mhm.
and I had forgotten what it's like when you don't have things go your way. And it sucks, but you
The after
do.
party sure sucks.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Oh, man.
Unless
was a-
you're nacho.
Looking at that screen, it was like, huh.
but
I felt a lot
ultimately,
better going into this party.
it's just one of those things. But if you come out and you have, like, my policy now is sharper, my policy is better, my commitment to changing Rhode Island is deeper, and it doesn't need to be me. See, it's never, even when I was running, I never had an idea that I was going to be the savior of Rhode Island.
Sure.
I'm not, but I am committed to making sure that my kids can stay in Rhode Island, because I know this is the best state in the country, but I want them to stay because there's opportunity. And so I wouldn't change anything because it changed me. And one of the best changes, I would say, is the deepening of my commitment to this state,
Yeah.
and the idea that I'm not going to give up. And either we're going to make policy changes.
I love it.
So
Yeah.
go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
I said, yeah.
It's
Oh.
kind of the way we feel.
So
That's
that's
right.
what. So your kids, being able to have your kids remain in this state and be successful. That's
Without me paying for them.
without you paying.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
makes you feel like Rhode Island is worth fighting for?
Yeah, I love this state.
Yeah.
And I have had I've lived in other places.
Sure.
I feel like I have sampled other places, so I have an informed
Educated.
educated opinion about what is
Yeah.
good and what is bad. And I can tell you
Yes.
Rhode Island is very good. It
Mhm.
is the best state. We have the best people, and we just need policy that gets us there. And we're small enough where we can do it in a very short period of time.
So if you decide that you're going to run again, can you do it? Can you announce it here? Not
For the-
tonight. Not
yeah.
tonight.
For the 2,000 people that will see the episode, you know.
I have not even
Jeez.
thought about whether I'm running, but the best thing, the most rewarding thing would be for me to be able to find a path where we can have a person that will implement the policy. And if
Gotcha.
it's not me, I mean, I don't.
You want to support? person
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it
I
is.
would prefer not to
right.
go through. It's not like the most fun
I would never.
process.
It's horrible.
I would
So-
never do it.
But
I agree.
you do it for the so like imagine a scenario where we get the policy and I don't have to be the person doing it. That's like the
Oh,
best.
I
So,
do have a newfound respect for what it takes to actually run for a position.
yeah,
Kinda
it's
like that.
rough.
It's like, yeah, it's not easy.
All right.
It's a lot of work.
So do you have any? So how do people follow you? Like, do you have anything that you want to shout out to people as far as like social media? Like, do you even care about that stuff? Like, does that even?
No, I think social media just gets me in fights and in trouble. I guess.
So stay away from her social
no,
media.
No, you can. I'm most active. So I didn't start until like the last year where my ex account got spicy because I didn't even use it. I had put like my comms person did it, and it was all boring stuff. And then everybody was like, "Who's on this account?" I was like, "Oh, it's really me now." I mean,
Sounds like
I-
your campaign. No, I'm
I
just
know.
kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
if I do talk about policy a lot on X, I have nothing to promote other than Rhode Island and the policies I believe in. So if you want to see me get myself in trouble, you can go to X. Or if you want interesting policy ideas,
Yeah.
I advocate for policies that I think would work here.
Okay. And where do you do that? On X?
On X,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right. What
Just
is your
your-
X handle?
Yeah.
It's just my name, Ashley Kalus.
Okay. Rock and roll. Jay, you want to add anything?
Go to X.
For you too?
No, not for me. I don't. I have one, but I haven't been on it in forever.
Yeah, I know.
Anything you want to add,
I'm
Brad?
still in the old book, as the kids call it these days, Facebook. I gotta get on the X.
Hey, I remember when Tom was my only friend on MySpace.
MySpace.
Oh,
God.
MySpace. Wow.
Anyway,
That goes back a few years.
so if you are a listener of the Road Report, Cumberland Unfiltered, anything that we do, you can go to @Cumberland Unfiltered on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. Hit subscribe, like, share, comment. Tell us what you think. If you have questions that you want to ask Ashley, let us know, and we'll make sure that she gets them. And maybe on an upcoming episode, she can address it. Anything else?
Awesome.
Rock
Thank
and
you for
roll.
having
Appreciate
me.
it. No, thank you for
Great.
coming.
All
No, this has
right.
been great.
That's a wrap.